Kat, for that introduction. And so again, welcome to everyone who is on the call this afternoon for our informational meeting for this month. Want to go through a quick agenda here. We'll do welcome, which you already got, introductions, some general reminders, a little bit about our training and development area, some information about the Behavior Support Review Committee. We'll have a quick overview of what coaching is and how we're working it in Tier 3. We're going to open it up to questions and answers, and then we're going to wrap things up. So again, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, and we hope to share some information that will be helpful and supportive in your role. Want to go through kind of introductions here and who's who and who's with us this afternoon. So our Chief Behavior Analyst is now Dr. Lucas Evans. Lucas was able to secure his PhD and had everything approved. So we now have a Dr. Evans. On the eastern side of the world, we have our area behavior analyst, Melantha Witherspoon, who is not able to join us this afternoon, but we do have our intensive systems consultant, Cindy Hennebrink. So Cindy, please say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome to our Tier 3 informational meeting.
All right. In the central region, we have our area behavior analyst, Sin McDonald, and I don't believe I see Sin on this afternoon, but we do have our intensive systems consultant, Chad Reyes. Go ahead, Chad.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here with you all today.
All right. And on the western side of the world, it's myself, Rita Cooper, as the Western Region Area Behavior Analyst, and our intensive systems consultant, Kay Hamplin, and we're both in the office this afternoon.
Hi, thanks for coming to our meeting today, and I hope you enjoy it.
So want to do some general reminders, and you know, we are moving towards a more than compliance orientation in what we do. We want to make sure that we are moving to a level of building capacity for the Tier 3 folks, and that includes providers and support coordinators and behavior providers who are supporting individuals with very intense and complex presentation. So we are moving towards building capacity just as our Tier 1 and Tier 2 folks have. And we also want to extend a thanks for your patience as we grow to for you and in support of you. So on our training and development side, we've got a lot of trainings that are being pushed out in the month of April. We have an ethics for LBAs and assistant behavior analysts. We're focusing on section 2 of the ethics code, and that will be provided on 4/1 from 10 until noon. And as you note, looking at your calendars, some of these dates are on Saturdays, and we've gone to the support of the presenter to have them identify when it meets their schedules. Another ethics course that we have for CEUs is Ethics in Addressing Sexual Behaviors, and that's on the 14th from 10 until noon. We have something called the Art of Consulting, and that will be on the 15th, and that will be from 10:30 to 12:30. We've got, like I said, we've got a lot of trainings at that Tier 3 level in the month of April. On the 19th, we're going to take a look at behavioral diagnostics, and that's translating critical variables into effective treatment. That will be held between 2:30 and 4:30. We've got a really interesting one, health, sports, and fitness. The application of behavior analysis to promote wellness and athlete performance. That should be very interesting. That's on the 20th from 10 until noon. We also have a model for supervision for ABA interns and BCBAs. One of the things that we are trying to promote and push forward is the nurturing of new behavior analysts to become behavior analysts, and also that mentoring of supervision beyond that initial certification. One of the things in talking with newly minted behavior analysts is the reminder that we are all still growing. And if you think you're done learning, then you've finished what you need to do. Try again, because we're all learning and growing and developing. I'm not a subject matter expert in a whole bunch of things, but I can dabble in a lot of things. So we're going to have that model for supervision on the 21st of April from 2 to 4. And then our last one, I believe, in April, and we may add more. It depends on the presenter capacity and also their timing, but getting wise about internet restrictions, why to set limits and how to fade restrictions responsibly. Those are elements that are truly a challenge as everyone is connected to the internet. And how do we help the individuals that we support truly use the internet wisely and not put themselves or their housemates or others at risk? So we'll have that on the 22nd from 10:30 to 12:30. Now, our training and development is generally geared towards the behavior analyst, but if you see a topic that you might be interested in attending, you can check with our subject matter expert, Melantha Witherspoon, about attending and whether it would be something that would be truly understandable. We had talked, and getting wise about the internet restrictions might be something that will be easily understood by everyone. So if you're interested in that, you can email us, or we can put Melantha's information in the chat, and you can ask her then. And of course, hopefully you know our emails because we shared them the last time. So some reminders about Behavior Support Review Committee. We meet the second Tuesday and the third Thursday. This is the WebEx link. We also have it on our Tier 3 site that you can actually join. We are also, as we mentioned the last time, doing some one-page reminders about Behavior Support Review Committee, and we've got 3. We will also have 3 very short didactics that will go along with these, kind of expanding upon the information presented. We have the basics of Behavior Support Review Committee. That's really the basics. What is it? Who attends? When do we meet? And how individuals are selected. We also have required attendance at Behavior Support Review Committee as a team and what that looks like. So again, we identify the factors, we outline the attendance notification and then the process. We give a short bullet of the meeting day and what to expect, and then short bullets about what to expect after the meetings. These are great one-pagers. We are also including these with our invitations as we send the invitations out to the Behavior Support Review Committee. And then the last one is what to expect as a committee member with the Behavior Support Review Committee. And this is for the committee members and how that works. So who can be a committee member? What are the responsibilities in regards to preparing? And then when does the committee meet again? So we have those reminders for everyone. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Cindy Hennebrink, and she's going to talk a little bit about our coaching and action planning. So Cindy, when you want the slides advanced, I can either give the controls to you or you can just tell me next. And I'll
I
leave
will.
it up to you.
Thank you so much, Rita. I'll let you know when I'm ready for you to advance a slide.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Tier 3 informational meeting. I just wanted to provide you with a little information about what our Tier 3 provides in terms of coaching and action planning. The coaching to start out with, after the Behavior Support Review Committee has met with the team, whether it was for an individual experiencing significantly challenging behaviors or whether it was to discuss a prohibited practice that was discovered, the Tier 3 provides follow-up coaching and action planning with those teams. So, what is coaching? Basically, it is a process that aims to improve performance and focuses on the quote, here and now, end quote, with application to develop capacity for the system within the team, such as the support coordinator, provider, guardian, etc. Important to note here is that the coach is not the quote, coach as an expert, end quote, but rather a facilitator of process. Coaching allows the team to jointly take a look at and reflect on their current practices that are going on. So this is a team effort, a team collaboration. It's not us coming in and telling the team what they have to do. We are just there to help the team identify what steps need to maybe be taken and to help identify any gaps there might be in obtaining their goals. Coaching helps to apply new skills with fidelity. Again, the overall goal is the coach is helping the team to improve their own performance. In other words, helping them to develop better systems. And specifically, we do this by assisting the team to attain competency and to help them to be confident to engage in action, self-reflection, self-correction, and use of new skills and strategies in other situations as appropriate. And Rita, you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. Thank you. So along with the coaching process comes our action planning. This is something that the team will receive after they have received the behavior support review summary recommendations. Basically, action planning is turning your vision into reality. It's basically a list of tasks that you need to complete an object and a goal. It's your best way to avoid challenges and problems during the journey. You can also think of an action plan like a roadmap. It helps us determine how to get exactly from point A to point B. An action plan can help a team to stay on track and keeps the team moving in the right direction. An action plan can also be used as an agenda or for minutes to guide meetings. So an action plan generally will include a description of the goal to be achieved. And we want to remember when determining goals, we want to use the SMARTER method, being specific at first for the S. We want to state the goal in easy to do language and very specific to the achievement you or your team are trying to accomplish. We want to make sure it's measurable, that we can, collect data on it. We want to make sure it's achievable. We want to make sure it's relevant, teachable, and then we want to evaluate, to see if it's working or not working, and then revise if it's not working. We need to. Action steps that need to be carried out to reach the goals. Who will be doing what or in charge of carrying out what task? When it will be completed, such as the deadline and milestones, resources that are needed to complete the task. and measures again to evaluate progress. Is it working or not working? What do we need to go back and change to make things different? You can go ahead and advance to the next slide. Thank you. So our coaching and our action planning occurs at various levels and in various ways within our multi-tiered systems of supports team. Coaching and action plans specifically related to the Tier 3 team may occur for these areas. As I mentioned earlier, the Behavior Support Review Committee, prohibited procedures, things related to specific workshops, for example, safety crisis plan workshops, and then other related items that are related to specific process. And Rita, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
All right, I actually think the next slide is Kay. So
Again, we'd like to let you know about some upcoming events. Of course, we have our Behavior Support Review Committee twice a month. It is on April 11th in the morning, April 20th in the afternoon. And if you're invited to one of those, the link is provided to you within the invitation. It's also provided to you within the letter that we send out to you. There is a safety crisis plan training workshop that we are presenting along with Tier 2, and that will be on April 4th and April 18th. And there'll be 2 cohorts so that we don't have such a huge group at either one. So they'll be divided up. There will be a prohibited practice WebEx and workshop coming in April or May. We're not quite sure yet which one. Then there are the clinical conceptualization workshops, which are listed there for May, as well as one in June. If you have questions on the clinical conceptualization workshops, again, our specialist in that area is Melantha Witherspoon. If you need any other information about the other trainings or committees, please let one of us know. So now we'll take any questions, and if anybody has any, just go ahead and you can either unmute or type it into the chat box, and we'll go ahead and answer those for you.
all right, we had a question in the chat. How is the action plan communicated to the team? Is it emailed after the meeting? Gina, yes, we do. What we do is we, for specifically the Behavior Support Review Committee, we issue the meeting summary, which outlines the recommendations, but then our intensive systems consultants give you a action plan format template that you can use and is the initiation of that formalized or more formalized planning process. So you might get that at the same time you get the summary, or you might get it a day or 2 afterwards, also with an invitation from the intensive systems consultant to say, you know, we would love to help support you in your action planning. Let us know when we can meet, or here are a couple of dates that we are offering for you to help support you in developing that action plan. Okay, we have a question that the individual had a review by the Behavior Support Review Committee prior to them transferring. How can we follow up? And that's it depends on how long ago. What we may do sometimes is if all the action steps were completed, then that closes out things for the Behavior Support Review Committee. If they weren't, then there would be an ongoing action plan. And if you can email me or email the Behavior Support Review Committee email with the person's name, then we can do some follow-up and connect with you, okay? And we'd love to make sure that we've got all those action steps done and taken in place. Great questions, everyone. We greatly appreciate it. You know, one of the things that, and I'll do some dialogue here, one of the things that we have happening is, of course, the review of prohibited procedures. And the prohibited procedures are outlined in the CSR, 9 CSR 45-3.090. And if I could talk or type as fast as I talk, I'll put it in the chat. But it's also as a process of our home and community-based service waiver that these prohibited procedures are outlined. So, you know, this is not something that we make up. I'm not that bright. I couldn't make anything up this complex. But it is something we are required to do. And I can't type and talk apparently either. But one of the things we need to take a look at is how do we help teams? And our goal is not just to make you change things right away or get rid of things. I think as you've all heard us comment, is that we're there to walk alongside you in the process of fading these prohibited procedures so that everyone is safe, not only the individual, but also the staff and the community. And so, you know, there is that part of it. In addition to that, the guideline also calls out that prohibited procedures have to be reviewed by the Behavior Support Review Committee. So there might be two separate action plans. There might be an action plan associated with fading the prohibited procedure, and there would be an action plan associated with the Behavior Support Review Committee review, along with the summary of the meeting. So, you know, you get a double whammy on those prohibited procedures. Not only do you get the fading action plan template, and you also get, you know, the requirement that there needs to be some interface on a monthly basis. And that may be by a meeting or by follow-up emails or a combination, or you may alternate. We've done a lot of very creative things to help identify good management of everyone's time. And so, you know, we take a look at what works for the team and what works for the situation. All right, we've got another question that came into the chat, and it was whether a behavior support plan replaces a safety crisis plan once a BSP is in place. And the answer may be yes. What a behavior support plan should include the functional elements of a safety crisis plan. And so in all cases, you know, that should be incorporated. Also, the behavior support plan should really hone in the elements that make a good safety crisis plan. So those antecedent strategies, what you're teaching, and then what to do in a crisis. So yes, for all intents and purposes, the BSP should embody all elements of an effective safety crisis plan. Thanks for the question. And the other thing is that, you know, it's really important to, you know, because the safety crisis plan was probably created before you maybe had those behavior services. And I think, you know, when the behavior analyst comes in, that should be something that they review. It's really important for continuity of support and care that we take the good elements of all the effort and work that the team put into the development of that safety crisis plan and incorporate it into the behavior support plan. Because again, that was based on a lot of good experience, hopefully, of the direct support professionals and those working with the individual, of what they saw worked and didn't work, and also of the guardian potentially and the support coordinator for sure, of all the things that have been incorporated in the past, so that corporate history is really embodied in that safety crisis plan and should translate and be part of that behavior support plan. So great question, and hopefully that helps to kind of add some clarity to things. And also want to let everyone know, no question is an unnecessary or off-topic question. Questions are always there to help clarity in what you do and the necessary elements that you feel are important in doing your job effectively. All right, love these questions. Okay, it says if you're seeing multiple rights restrictions in place due to undesired behavior, should you recommend or refer the planning team to tier 3 in some way? You know, our goal is not necessarily to do that individual consult, but you know, our goal is to ultimately build capacity. So if there are multiple rights restrictions, that would tell me that we're looking at, you know, somebody who is potentially meeting the reactive strategy threshold, where you have, you know, a reactive strategy that is restrictive, and having multiple ones of those at a time would ultimately lead to potentially the review by the Behavior Support Review Committee. Now, if you see that maybe a provider has people who have multiple restrictions in place due to undesired behavior, then it might be to the benefit to refer the provider or refer to us that provider, so that we can potentially reach out and see what might be needed to help that provider be more effective in addressing those very complex behaviors. So, you know, do they need to potentially connect with a behavior provider? Are they a provider that may be overextending their scope and capacity of capability? You know, it's one thing to take complex people. It's another to have the skill and capacity to be able to address those needs. And I'm just making a generalization, but you know, if we've got multiple people with multiple restrictions, it would lead me to believe that perhaps the skill set of the provider might be lacking, if that's the only solution that is perceived at addressing those areas. But you can definitely, reach out. We may be able to do a little short consult to give some clinical recommendations, but our goal is not to do that constant individual consultation, but to meet the needs. And maybe we find that there are some trends with that particular provider or that particular area. I would hope that, if there are undesired behaviors, that behavior services are also being recommended for the individual and that there is a safety crisis plan. Wait another couple minutes. I'm sure there are some great, oh my goodness. There are some additional questions there. All right. Glad we were able to provide some clarity to that question. Great. Okay, we've got another question there. What happens if a safety crisis plan and behavior, I would assume that that's behavior support plan were active, but the service provider changed? Does this affect the strategies or aspect of the plan that change? I would, just because a service provider, maybe a behavior provider has changed, they might have some additional elements that they'd like to incorporate, depending on what's working and what's not working. And the service provider should add some, additional information if they feel needed in regards to, and that's if, we're changing behavior providers. If we're changing residential providers, I would speculate that you need to make adjustments to the safety crisis plan and behavior support plan based on the capability and capacity of the residential provider. Not all providers have physical intervention capabilities, and so some may not do that, and so the plans may be altered. I would definitely take a look at what strategies need to be changed and why, and make those changes as a team. The other thing that needs to be remembered about behavior services and a behavior support plan is that if there are no active services, that means if there is not a behavior provider who is currently being funded, that behavior support plan cannot be implemented. I think that's one of those perpetual urban legends, in that if, people incorporate or copy and paste behavior support plans in ISPs and think that, well, we've got a behavior support plan. But if there is not a behavior analyst to provide clinical oversight, that behavior support plan cannot ethically be executed. So those are things to remember as you change providers, change services, and as things change in the individual's life. You guys have some really great questions. Thank you so much for that. And these are very important questions, and, hopefully part of the informational meeting not only is to share what we have, but for you to share issues and concerns that you may have about residential providers that have or are supporting very complex individuals, or things about behavior services. One of the other areas that we're really looking to help support everyone on is a better understanding of behavior services. What are they? What to expect as a service coordinator, as a residential provider, and then also for behavior providers to set clear expectations on what is it that they will be doing, what is it that they expect everyone else to do. Because behavior services is not the behavior analyst coming out with the magic wand and making the person better. The behavior analyst provides skills for the individual and skills for staff, and looks at changing the environment to make things better for everyone. I'm just scrolling through the chat here to make sure that we've responded to all the questions at this point. It looks like we have been able to respond to all the questions so far. We're going to wait in silence because sometimes it takes a minute to type. So as we were muted here a little bit, Kay and I were chatting to add some clarity, I think, to the question about, I got a new person on my caseload who is either been to or in transition, and what about the Behavior Support Review Committee? And the hope is, and a lot of times because of the timing, we send the invitation out approximately 6 to 8 weeks prior to the meeting. And things occur between those 6 and 8 week session. And if the person is in transition, then it's important that both teams come, whether it's 2 different residential providers or behavior providers or whomever, that we get a cohort of past and present or soon to be present team members, so that everyone gets the most information and the most out of the situation of having the plan reviewed. So again, those are things that transpire. because of the timing and necessity to get things scheduled and to inform teams and also to get the materials for review.
So our next informational meeting will be on April 24th. Again, they start at 3 and usually run until 4 or thereabouts. And we'd like to thank everyone for attending today. Invite your neighbors, your coworkers, providers, anyone who may not have been here before. It's something different every month, and sometimes we do go back over a few topics that we've discussed previously, just to help everybody understand how things work and what's going on. So we really appreciate your coming today, and everyone have a wonderful Monday. Thanks.